But let's jump right in. Number one, inflation.
Yeah, this is a big one. And let's talk about just a quick little Webster's definition. Inflation just means the general increase in the price of goods over time. I buy something today and it costs more than it cost yesterday. We are seeing firsthand the effects of how hard inflation can be on our wallets and our purses.
Yeah, I mean, when even this isn't just our survey of our listeners. If you look out there, it said Americans 40% list inflation as a top concern for 2024. And I get it. I mean, I think about Reby and Matt and I were coming back from Nashville, and we went through a Chick-fil-A drive-through. And then I was like, how in the world was that $34 for like three people? Yeah, I mean, it was just, and then a lot of you guys, I can't help. I will probably watch or look at too much social media. Y'all are mad at Subway. Because forever, Subway, you could get a foot-long sub for like $5-6, and now it's gone way above and beyond that. So it's not. I mean, I know we're smiling as we say this, but it's not uncommon for people to have a struggle right now in the fact that things are just more expensive.
Yeah, and realistically, if we think about this period, if we just look at inflation over the last 5 years, from 2019 until now, really post-pandemic, 2021, 2022, and 2023, peaking inflation hit like almost 9%, or maybe even just a touch over 9%, depending on how you measure it. Those are pretty high levels of inflation. So we saw a really rapid increase on our insurance premiums, at the grocery store, at the gas pump. So everything that we spend money on got more expensive. Well, now you can see in the chart, inflation has come down some. Now, as it's measured, looks like it's about right around 3 to 3.4% inflation, but that only tells part of the story, right, Brian?
Yeah, here's the cold hard facts. The sad thing about inflation is that yes, we've moderated on where inflation is, but the sad part is that prices don't typically go all the way back to where they were before this run up.
That's right.
That's why it's pretty hard and devastating, and that's why I'm not going to candy coat this. If you look at what you can do, number one, and this is a Captain Obvious statement, but I'll put some color to it so you know what we're talking about here, is you're going to have to adjust your spending.
Absolutely. You know, it's no different than if you took a pay cut at your job, or if you own a business and it was in like a down period. You kind of have to think about inflation the same way. Even though you're not buying more goods or spending money on more things, if things are more expensive, you got to figure out, where can I cut back if your income has not moved commiserately with that? So it's a tough thing, and you got to figure out, are there areas that I can lean out inside my personal finances?
I'd rather draw attention to it, because I know if you don't pay attention to the fact and start taking some form of action, the bridge to nowhere that people will lean into is they'll say, well, it's going to get better, so I'll just use debt.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a trap. And that's why, I mean, I've seen, and a lot of you guys doing great work out there on social media, where I see now you're doing like the meal prep, where I see like you've laid out the meals for the next week. Maybe you're changing the grocery stores you're shopping at. There are things you can do to adjust your spending. I know that seems like an obvious thing, but put in the work. And I know when I've gone through these periods where maybe like the Great Recession, or I had things not work out with the way a business was growing. I mean, look at how you're spending your money with the landscapers, your cable or your streaming services, all your subscriptions. Nothing should be protected if you're struggling paying your bills.
So then obviously looking at your expenses and what you spend is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, what can I do with my income? If my expenses are as low as they can be, what are some other ways that I can help fight off this inflation? Well, one of the things you can do is, if you work at an employer that does not do annual reviews, that does not have a raise process, you can go advocate for yourself, but proceed with caution, because you want to make sure you do this well and in a well-reasoned, well-thought-out way.
Yeah, here's something. Let me give you some guidance on this, because a lot of people don't come in and talk to your boss from, you're owed this, or even if you are. I mean, because when I find out that people haven't gotten pay raises in 6 years, I'm like, they are owed a pay raise. I mean, who is not giving their employees an annual pay raise? But be careful. That's a trap. Even though you're right ain't gonna get you to the solution. The solution, what I would encourage you to do is, if you could figure out an angle that you talk to your boss about and show the reasons why giving you a pay raise or taking on more responsibility or doing something will actually benefit both you and the employer. If you can create those win-win situations, I think you'll be shocked at how they will be very accommodating to it. I've had people do it. I've had people approach me in different ways, and whenever it's from a positive place, I'm trying to figure out, especially if this is a valuable team member, I'm trying to figure out how do we make this work for everybody involved. So just come from a position of optimism and trying to create a win-win versus don't go in there and turn it and demand or make it a negative, and don't do ultimatums because it's already tough. We don't want to make it worse.
Now, here is a little bit of cold water. If you are at a place that maybe doesn't offer pay raises and you try to approach this tactfully and it doesn't go well, that could be an indicator to you. Maybe you should look for employment elsewhere. I mean, this is a difficult economy, and if you feel like you're doing everything that you can to try to increase your income, but your employer is not recognizing that value in you, it may be possible for you to go find an opportunity elsewhere. So don't rule that out as a possible solution. And then the third thing of what you can do during an inflationary environment, Brian, and this is really hard, but it's so important, is keep investing. Because not only will inflation eat away the value of your dollars today and the money you're spending today, but one of the best ways you're going to fight that over the long term is by keeping your money working for you so that you can also fight inflation that's going to happen in the future. So don't just say, man, things are tight, things are hard, I'm just going to cut off my investing altogether. Try to figure out ways that you can keep sending your dollars to work for you so that you can constantly combat the eroding force of inflation.
Yeah, a big part of get wealthy behaviors is trying to turn your wages, your time, your labor into actual assets. And that's why I can't have you take a side trip to cut that off when that actually is going to be the long-term solution to protect yourself from inflation and all these other things, is try to get assets built up underneath you so that your money can work harder than you can with your back, your brain, or your hands. And that's a hard thing to do when we've gone through an inflationary period, but it doesn't mean you just stop. It just means you keep making that an objective, following the financial order of operations, and then you will come out on the other side much better.
All right, so inflation is kind of something that's a little bit out of our control. We don't get to really control how things get more expensive as it relates to inflation.